Hey everyone, it's Rashida and Marshall. Thank you so much for checking out this video. We are going to be going through some different floor work movements that you can do that bring attention to the legs. So we're going to go through some things when the hips are lifted and different motions that the legs can be moving through, as well as when you are seated and then just reclined down on your back. So just having a nice comfortable space should be good. We're not too much dancing in this video. So I have my mat out so I'll feel okay as I stay down on the floor. So we are gonna start first with some moves where, again, hips are lifted, legs are up, and then I'll show you ways that you can take those motions and still do them if you're down on the ground. So let's say we're doing moves that incorporate shoulder rolls to some extent, or if you're not doing the full roll, but the legs are still going up into the air. So when we're down and you have the hips up, so you're supporting yourself up in the air, there are several that you can do here that look really pretty. So I like to do a bicycle type movement. And so it's kind of a pedal of the legs. And you want to feel like one leg is going down while you pull the knee in towards you, and then really make it a nice smooth moment. So you want to feel like each leg is developing into that length. So you're kind of slowly drawing it in, slowly reaching it out, and then slowly floating it up, okay? So of course it would depend on the tempo of the song that you are listening to. You might go a little faster, a little slower, but whatever the tempo is, whatever you're following, you want it to be very controlled as you take the leg from the bend, lengthen, and lift, okay? And then you can also reverse that as well. So I always have to think about this. Okay, here we go. And then press, same thing. You want to be very smooth as you flow through that, all right? And then maybe the hands are holding you. You can also do these as well if the hands are not on the back, if you're at a point where you feel comfortable staying lifted without your hands holding on to you. So you can do a bicycle movement. You can also do like a helicopter type move with the legs. And I should have moved my plant so my helicopter won't be as wide as I go through this. But if you're here, you can have one leg forward, one leg back, and then you're sweeping around. I'm gonna hit a couple things, and then you come back into center, and then you can reverse. So one leg goes forward, one leg goes back, and then they go out to the opposite sides, and then they join together, okay? So it could be a nice sweep and lift, sweep and lift, and you can come in from there, okay? So the next one, I don't really know the name for this one, but it's like a nice, the knees come in and then the legs go out into a straddle type of position. So you would be lifted again, and then the knees, the toes, and oh yeah, with all these, think of keeping your toes pointed because it gives you the length through your leg. So your knees would bend in towards the face. Now from here, keep your toes together, but the knees go out to the sides, and then the legs go out to the sides from there. And then you can kind of bring the legs in, kind of like you're clapping the legs back together. So you come down, out, open, lift. Down, out, open, lift, okay? And then that is another one there. So for all three of those, and then I'll add in a few more, but for all three of those, you can do the same thing with your back down on the ground, right? So if you're not at a point where you are lifting just yet, or if you don't like to lift the hips, whatever the case is, let's say your arms are just out behind you and you draw the legs up, you can still do that bicycle movement, whichever direction that you want to do, okay? You can still do the helicopter type thing, just sweep the legs around and in, sweep the legs around and in, and then you can still do the down, out, and open. And I always, when my hips are down, I like to use the hands for that one as well. So I like to kind of trace my legs, bring my hands onto my knees, take the legs out, kind of like you're taking the legs out to the side, sweep the legs out, and then bring them in, and then you can transition into something else from there. Another one that you can do on the hips would be, or when you're lifted, when the hips are lifted, another one you could do
is if you're kind of tracing one leg down. So you keep the toe pointed, draw it along the inner edge of your leg, and then reach it behind you. And then you have the reach. So one leg going out, one leg coming in. And it's kind of like you're kind of trying to get a straight line from one to the other, right? And then you can transition from there. So let's say you draw one leg out, find that straight line, and then you can go into your bicycle or any of the other moves that we just broke down. So you can add that one in as well. And then of course, hips are down, but maybe you draw one leg out and then just pull it up, and then you can still do that same thing. So one leg goes down, maybe you lengthen, you're doing something to bring attention there, and then your legs come back into knee, okay? So those are some that you can do when you are lifting the hips. So another movement that you can do when you are staying flat on the mat, let's say you just drew the knees in for something, right? You just did something there. I like to do a variation where you kick the legs up to the ceiling and then you space them out to the side and then start to bend the knees and bring the feet down with the toes pointed. And then from here, normally what I like to do is boom, boom, I lower, and then maybe I go into a bridge right afterwards, or you can go into a circular bridge if you want. Sometimes I do like an arch, like I create a lot of space between myself and the ground after bringing my legs down. So that could be something where I just go down and then lift and then lower, and then maybe I go right into a bridge afterwards. So that's another one that can be really nice. You can also do one leg movement with a bridge, so a single leg bridge. This one's a little harder. It's going to require a little more balance and control, but see how it feels for you. So you can go up into the bridge, and then you can maybe just lengthen one leg and then draw it down and maybe turn from there. So again, you would go up, you'd maybe draw one leg in towards you, reach it up to the ceiling, bring it all the way down, and then lower. And then that leg that's bent, you can flow to the other side by bringing it onto the ground. So that's another variation that you can do also. So another one that's good is a swivel, left and right swivel of the legs. So let's say your legs are straight up, the hips are down. We're going to start with your left leg. I want you to think right now that your knees are in towards each other, they're staying together, and you're going to take your left leg, you're kind of crossing it behind your right leg, and then you're going to drop the leg down, sweep it over, and then draw it right back to where it was. And then you can go to your right leg. The knees stay together as much as possible. Sweep the leg over, it goes down and up. So you're drawing a circle. And I'm going to turn so you can see my legs from the front as well. And then you can just sweep that around. So it's kind of like a sweep, sweep. I like to explain it as your leg is like your leg is heavy, right? So it drops down and swings up. It drops down and swings up, okay? So if I were to turn and face you all this way, and then legs are still lifted. So again, we're gonna start with my right leg now, sweep it around and lift, sweep it around and lift. And I'm gonna move back because obviously there's a plant here. So again, you're sweeping around and up, and then just let the legs swing. So it's like the weight of your calf is bringing you down, and then again, toes stay pointed, okay? And then from here, you can also do like both legs, and sweep, okay? And then you can add whatever it is that you'd want to add there. So maybe the hands are doing something as the legs are doing that. Same thing if the legs going one at a time. Maybe your hands are doing something, maybe the chest is doing something. You can kind of add your flow to it, right? So those are some other ones you could do. Another movement is your fan kicks. So this one I do a lot in routine. So maybe you've seen it or already done it. But this one, let's see, I'm going to face my back as I teach this one. So the fan kick, I would say to start with your legs kind of staggered, and then your top leg is going to be the one that takes you into your kick first. So you would sweep one leg out, and then you're lifting, and then the other one follows, sweep over, and then you're down. So you want to try to end with your knees bent and kind of stack where you were. So then if you reverse it, you sweep the top leg out, the toe is pointed, you're going up, you're sweeping out, over, and then you can actually keep the top leg extended as well, so bent or extended. And then again, we lift that leg, stay propped up with your hands so you don't kind of sink back,
and then the other leg goes out. You're in that wide stance, and then you draw the bottom leg in so the heel is drawn in towards you, and then you're here, okay? So if I'm facing you this way from the side, we would again start with that top leg, take the leg up, sweep over, your other leg is following, and then start to bend this knee, come in towards you, and then that top leg can stack over the bottom leg, and then that can let you transition into something else. Maybe then you bring both legs in and you sweep over, right? Maybe you, from there, maybe both the legs come in, you lengthen and go down, right? You can slink onto the floor and you can transition into something else. So fan kicks are really nice, and fan kicks can also be done just with one leg as well, right? You don't always have to do both. So maybe you start one way and you just did something, you ended up here, and maybe you just want to sweep one leg over and then reach to that leg, or use it as a way to turn into another movement. So you can connect it that way as well. Another seated movement that I like to do is where one leg is going up, right? So maybe you just extend one leg and bring attention to it that way. The other leg can be bent and you just kind of come up and lower. And anytime I do something like that, I try to trace the leg with my hand. So if the leg's going up, it's like I want you to right now look at my leg, right? Look at it. So my hand is doing something there. So kind of going up and down, and then transition into whatever. Maybe it bends or maybe it floats down onto the ground. Another one that can be really good is where you're laying on your side and your top leg is doing movement. So let's say that you are fully on one side of the body. You can take that top leg, kind of draw it along the inner edge of your bottom leg, reach it up, and then float it down. All right, you can do movements like that. You can do a move where you keep the toes together, draw the legs in, so the knees are bending, but your toes are still connected. And then you reach the legs out and then draw them back in together, or go into another variation. And then you can also do movements where you just kind of take the leg up and then lower it down. That's more of like feels a little more ballet-ish, a little more a mix of Pilates too, right? But you can just be simple there with that as well. And then the last move that we'll look at is one that you can do when you are in a kneeling position. So I've done this one in a couple routines as well. Let's say you're on all fours and you want to lift one leg off of the ground, then you can sweep one leg out behind you and kind of float it in. And you can do different things. Let's say you float it up, then you kind of open and you can draw the leg out in front. You can also just repeat that kick, right? You can also just kind of sweep up and in, sweep up and in. So you want to think of the chest going down as your leg is going up behind you. So kick the leg up, but drop the chest. This way you can get that long line, like from your heel all the way to your shoulders, and then pull the knee in towards you. And you want to connect your body roll. So you want it to eventually be like a roll through the movement, all right? But then as you're going through, the focus is on that leg as you are kicking it up behind you, okay? So those are all the moves that I wanted to share. I know that there are a ton of movements that bring attention to the legs, or that you can use to bring attention to the legs, but I wanted to share a few that are a little more simple and ones that I like to mix in often into beginner level routines. So let me know how that works for you, how those feel for you, and if there are any other types of transitions, movements, flows, or routines that you would like to see. So until the next video, y'all have a good one. Bye.